Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coast Files, your podcast for ocean mysteries and true crime. I'm Chantel.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Megan. And hello to all of you, lovely listeners.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
We were just commenting that this episode will come out the first week of September. And I'm not sure about Lindsay in Chicago, but I'm in the middle of a heat wave right now. So the vibes are not matching.
Yeah, Chicago is heat wave basically all summer.
The time. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Toronto has been that way right now too. So
we had so much rain.
The raining
so
or heat
cold.
wave?
Yeah, and then it was like 30 degrees, which in Fahrenheit is what?
mid 80s.
That's hot.
I'm still working on my translations for weather.
Yeah,
but
you're really good. You did that in another episode. I think it was, I forget which one.
I actually ended up guessing
like spot on.
right. Yeah. So that was a fluke and generally doesn't happen.
86 is 30.
So Lindsay, you're like that's perfect.
Almost. Yeah. Because we know that if it ends in a 6, it's still mid. Just like if you're 36, you're still in your mid 30s, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
So-
okay.
And
That's how we know.
As someone that is freshly 36,
I would even say like
appreciate that.
37
Yes.
even.
Still
I would
mid.
consider in the mid, right?
I think we're gonna have
Right?
to because
Yes.
I'll be 37 next year, and I think that has to be still mid 30s.
That still
It has to
feels mid.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick, back to Chicago again. I finally started reading, oh my God, Something in the White City.
Devil in the White City. Oh, such a
So
good book.
I'm so bad with my library card. I'll put like 100 books on waitlist, and then when they come due, like to download, I am overzealous, and then I go through ebbs and flows of where I'm reading like every day for a week, and then I don't for a while. So they always just keep, well, your hold is no longer valid. So I read maybe
That's actually
like
a book worth
a tenth.
You should potentially just buy that book because it's something that is very dense and it's really good. But
Yeah, it's
I know
written-
I would not be able to read it in like the 3-week loan period personally. There's just so much information to take in that I kind of have to like.
Well, and it depends. Like, there's
Are you
a
allowed?
bunch.
Are you allowed to retake books out though?
Yes, I
I
do
guess
all
as
the
long
time.
as it's not like a wait
as long
list,
as
right?
right.
Well,
Yeah, you can
and if
always
there is a
read
wait
it.
list, you just get back on that wait list. So I've been on the same wait list numerous times. I'll read like 4 chapters, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God damn it, again. Anyway,
I think if the book isn't requested, the library actually encourages you to keep it. Because
really?
at least in Chicago, I like the book. I'm reading a book for my next recording, and I've had it now for months. And they're like, "You have like 50 more renewals. Just keep on keeping it." I'm like, "Okay." So
you can read that book. We believe in you.
yeah, just keep reading it. We don't want to have to shelve that. Just keep it there. No one's asked for it.
We don't want to do
so-
work.
I just hope no one
It's
requests
just-
it. But
It's just one of those things where I'm trying to have less clutter.
Thanks.
I do like physical books, but I went through that phase where it's always like George from Seinfeld. I took pride in having all of my books on display. Look how smart I am. But it just was exhausting.
never opened any of them. Just kidding.
Oh, hell no.
All brand new. Some still in the plastic. We just didn't tell her.
I'm sorry, that's my husband.
Spines
who
in
will
perfect
buy-
condition.
No, Damien buys a new coding book every 2 months. Has he ever cracked that? Like, no, I don't think he's ever.
Has he ever cracked that code?
I read my books, but it's just, I don't know. The fact that a library card is free and, having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. If you know, you know. Sorry, maybe no one else knows. So long story short, so far really good. I love the way it's being told. It's kind of being told from like 2 perspectives because the World's Fair was a huge player in that whole story. So it's just very, very cool book. And
you get the murder part and then the historical part.
well, and I knew a little bit about like, what's his name? Munster. H.H. Holmes, that was a much better name. So like kudos to the name change, but his real name is Munster something. Hearing more like slow told detail about kind of how we all came in, and he was a piece of shit from the beginning. And I'm like, I don't think I knew that.
like he screwed over like the pharmacy, like was it an old couple or something? I don't know if you got to that.
Okay, now I feel like I need
Okay.
to read this book so I understand what's going on here.
And I did just get there, and so I don't want to spoil it, but part of the book is like, and then people just like never saw her again. It was just really weird. Like she just, no one ever saw her. I'm like,
It's even harder back then if you go missing. It's not like you can ping their phone or sometimes families would only hear from people for like once every month or two from letters. So it's like if people went missing, you don't know for a while.
Do you think we're ever going to find out who Jack the Ripper was? Because it reminds me of like that time you could just do whatever you wanted.
I've seen like clickbaity articles and like that make me get like, I don't know, because I would like to see it solved. I know they have some theories, but I don't know if they'll be able to definitively say.
There's no DNA that's existing anymore from that. So like,
I feel like I saw one recently and they were like, somebody had this strong connection to who they think that they thought it was and it's somebody else kind of famous. Not like a serial killer or anything, but just somebody famous. And they were like, he was in all of these areas at the same time. He was traveling. He was friends with a lot of the people who passed. Oh my God, I got to find it again. Cause it was, I was just like flabbergasted by all of these connections. Now, obviously it's one of those like red string theory type things, but just the connections, I guess, is all that we're really going to have to play off of now. Right. Because
if I like do this episode, my screen just left. I'm still here.
It says recording. Lindsay has warnings. Okay, it's good. While we're laughing, I'll start this really depressing case. So,
yay.
We're probably a good like 15 minutes in. So for all the listeners, you probably know the title of this episode already. Today, I'm going to be covering the Gilgo Beach murders, aka LISK, which is the Long Island serial killer. Now, the reason for
I was trying to understand why it said LISK.
So, now this has been going on. Like, I mean, people have been disappearing since people were actually writing down disappearances. So, this story goes way, way back, mostly around the like 2000s. And if people are missing, but there's no clear connections, just different groups got different monikers is the right word. So I think originally it was called the Long Island serial killer because that's where most of it takes.
That's where it
Gilgo Beach. Yeah, Gilgo Beach is on Long Island. So it's similar. I'll kind of get into it where the Gilgo name kind of comes in more. But as we have found out very recently, this is all done by one person. Maybe. They're pretty sure it's one person.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'm not going to go into detail on how exactly people were killed because that's just, you know what? The world's already crappy. So we're just going to tell the story of these people and kind of where we are today.
I also feel like that's going to mean us editing out you crying less. So if you
whatever we can do so I don't cry as much and embarrass myself, we're going to go that route.
It's been a while since Megan's cried on the film. So
there's been a couple close calls.
Yeah.
Where I have to just like keep it together.
To be fair, me just showing up a couple of weeks ago brought tears to her eyes, which
And then when you were leaving and I kept it together, then I saw you again on the airport shuttle and I was like, nope, here we go. And then I cried for like 15 minutes and Damien's like, it's okay. I'm like, it's not though. She's so far away.
I know, but I'm going to come back more often. So
tomorrow.
You can cry more often, basically.
Good. And luckily I have my Stanley to keep me hydrated.
Me too.
Oh, for all the cries.
Chantal.
I don't own a Stanley. I just
has a really cool
Chantal
personalized.
We'll have to send her a Stanley. That's why I should have got you for your birthday.
There's still time. Chantal loves presents, so like
that's fair.
Just
except for that, just don't make me open them in front of you because I'll be really awkward about it.
Yeah. Well, this year I just sent her some drink money so she could just get a little tipsy. So next I'll have to get her something healthy, which is water in a Stanley cup.
That's
you
fair.
can put drinks in the Stanley though. You can put wine or whatever.
Next year
you put whatever you want in there. Yeah,
actually, nobody can see.
Definitely.
You know what? Once we all have a Stanley, we're going to get all those attachments that go on top. So you can put like French fries and cookies and all on top of your Stanley.
You can get attachments.
I didn't know about this.
Miss TikTok, that's your homework to find Stanley attachments and then send them all to us so we can be ridiculous and go on Amazon and just.
I like it.
Okay, so we're gonna start. We're gonna start here. It's not really the beginning, but it really is, I think, the best point to start. So around 5 a.m. on Monday, May the 1st, 2010, a 911 call was made from a small oceanside community called Oak Beach on Long Island. Oak Beach, I thought was kind of nice. It's like Oak Island. I kind of like it's a cute little name. 24-year-old Shannon Gilbert was working in the sex trade, and she had been hired out to visit John Brewer at his home with some of his friends. So, just a classic guys' night, hiring sex workers. I'm sure they're all married. I would say no judgment, but I am judging hard. This was not a normal job. Something went wrong. Shannon called 911 while she was inside the home. She then made it outside the home. It was super cold. I mean, it's May, early morning, 5 a.m. So she's not outside having a great time. She was on the phone, afraid for her life. If you haven't heard her 911 call, I'm going to ask that we put in a little clip right around here, right after I'm done kind of explaining. Because it's one of the weirdest calls that I've ever heard. I listened to the whole thing, but part of it is most popular. Part of it is what clips are used mostly. Her tone seems very flat. She repeats herself often. And these are some of the things that she says. Somebody's after me. Can you trace where I am? No, stop. No. What are you going to do with me? Are you going to kill me?
I have heard it actually.
Okay.
At least
I just got chills.
What you just stated, Megan, and it is very, very chilling to hear and also terrifying because you almost like hearing it, you feel like you could be like in her shoes and like how like scared she must have been. I can't even imagine though. Like it's a real life horror movie.
And the call goes on. I think it's about a 24-minute call. And the most popular sections are just a small part at the beginning. And while the words that she's saying sound terrible, her tone is so off. She's like very, very, it's like very flat. That's how I can describe it. And so it just makes me feel like she could have been under the influence of something.
I was about to say, was she drugged or something? Well, not drugged, or maybe on something.
She could have taken drugs willingly. She could have been drugged.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that alcohol. It doesn't seem like it'd be like a booze thing. It sounds like it could be something else. But towards the end of the call, it's almost like it kind of helps to like snap her out of it, whatever she was kind of under the influence of. On that call, there are two men that can be heard with Shannon. One is John Brewer, who's the client, and the other is Michael Pack. So Michael was her driver, and I was trying to find a nicer word for the word pimp, but there really isn't. Like I Googled it. I'm like, what else can I call a pimp? So
Was this guy actually her pimp or was this?
No, I
she
have
just
no idea.
knew?
So
Okay.
he was only described as her driver. So it could have been kind of like a partnership where he helps to get her to and from places safely.
Okay.
She does her work.
Bodyguard
and
almost.
I only
Bodyguard.
asked because I think when I don't know as much as you are going to tell us today, but in one thing I watched on like Dateline or something, I think it was like someone she knew versus necessarily her pimp,
she
but
definitely knew him. So this is not a stranger.
Yeah, as someone she obviously trusted enough because she didn't feel safe going out
But it's
there,
funny
right?
that you say that because while Shannon did know Michael, she sounds extremely distrustful of him on the call. She says numerous times to Michael, it's like, are you in on this? Are you part of this? And you can tell him he's kind of laughing, like, when someone has just had a few too many and they're just kind of being a little bit out of it and you're just like, okay. You're kind of like, you're fine.
She's getting scared, obviously. She doesn't know who
She's
to trust.
very scared. And I just want to say this right flat out. John Brewer and Michael Pack, as far as we know, are involved in this bigger story. There's never been any connection. I think that once more things kind of come to light, it could have just been an accident. Like I'll get to it, but it's just the call does not make it look good for anyone.
For sure.
So she's on the call. She's talking to 911. She is frankly ignoring the 911 operator most of the time. It sounds like she has the phone in her hand, but she's really focused on what's happening as much as she can be if she's under the influence or maybe just really scared. So the operator is asking her numerous questions, no response. Sometimes you can't hear anything. At some point, she does leave that house. She runs down the road, stops at a neighbor's home. His name is Gus Coletti. I just love all these like Italian names you're going to hear. So she bangs on his door. You could hear him on the phone too. And he's like, are you okay? What's going on? He's very confused. Just don't forget, it's like 5 a.m. After a few minutes, she runs off again. So while she's going on to the next person's house, Coletti calls 911 again to say, hey, there's this young girl here. He describes her as a small 14-year-old girl and that there's a man following her. So just that's how small Shannon is. She's 24 and he thinks that she's a teenager out, in the middle. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but I mean, it's on this very thin strip of beach. It's like a gated community.
Is the first photo of Shannon?
Sorry, yes. Shannon's number one. I love Shannon's hair. It is so 2000s.
Oh,
and all the photos I found of her, she has these like beautiful brown eyes, like gorgeous lips, and hoop earrings. She's wearing hoop earrings in like every photo.
Mm-hmm.
She is. She just looks like someone, if you describe like someone from Long Island or someone from like, New York, I'm like, that's who I would kind of picture.
Yeah.
And she's got the thin eyebrows of the time.
No, I know. I'm so glad we went back the other way. So when Gus is calling 911 trying to get Shannon help, they figure out that the person following her is Michael. So again, Michael's not a stranger to her. They've worked together for a long time as far as we know. So it's not assumed that he did anything to hurt her. He was trying to help her because they were like in this team partnership. At 5:30, another 911 call comes in, and this was made by Barbara Brennan. So this is the last house that she ends up going to. Same deal. She's banging on the door. She's terrified. And you want to hope that you'd be the person to open the door and help someone, but you don't know what's going on. There's so many cases of they use a woman as a decoy to get in, then a bigger, stronger, dangerous man comes in. So Barbara, I think, did the right call. She kept the door closed, said, you stay here, I'll call the cops. Yeah. However, she ended up running away again, ran off in a direction of a marshy area, was never seen alive again. Also, no cops were ever called, or no cops ever came to the area. So there's 3 911 calls.
And no one came.
Now, the first
crazy
call,
to me. Like, you had all this time till you knew she was still alive for 24 minutes during the call. And how far out are you? Like, there's no one in the area that could be sent over.
Okay, so part of it is this. So Shannon called 911 on the phone for 22 minutes. She was really not able to give a location of where she was. She knew she was on Long Island, but, maybe she was already a little bit kind of out of it when she went to the house. I can't imagine in sex work, you're sober 24/7 all the time. Right. But she couldn't describe where she was, but Gus Coletti was in his neighborhood. He knew where he was. He gave them a location. Barbara Brennan knew where she was. So 3 911 calls, no cop cars were ever sent, even to do a little drive-through.
And especially if you have 3, that's so odd. Like, it's understandable if you're like, oh, it's nothing. It's just like one of those things. Maybe to the first one, I don't really understand that. You should always go to something. But if you're having 3 calls, all in the general same area,
a sex worker that they didn't.
And I don't know if that ever came across on the phone calls. I don't know the reason why no one was sent out.
They don't seem to care. So I know, like,
they clearly didn't seem. I mean, the person on the phone with Shannon sounded frustrated that she couldn't help Shannon, but like, I don't know the ins and outs of what constitutes sending a patrol car out just to do a check. Like, and
3 calls about something similar should be enough to go and do a check.
You would think so.
Yeah.
So that hasn't been addressed too much.
For one call, like, you did nothing. I don't know if they were able to ping as easily. Like,
I don't think so.
They could. At least maybe it wouldn't be as fast as it would be today.
Well, I think what it would have been is that they would have had to get like her phone records, but you need to know where to look. Now I think it's a little bit different.
But if she ended up at somebody's house, didn't that person also call?
Yes. This is
so they had an area to go to.
He would have said, hi, I'm Gus. I live at this address. A girl was just here. They would have lined up those 2 phone calls. And then the 3rd call came in and no one was sent. So what we'll do is that at this point, I think this would make sense. We'll put in the 911 call audio, just a first clip. And if you want to hear the rest, I do have a link in the show notes that Lindsay will put up when this is out. And if you want to listen to the full one, you can. It is scary.
State Police, Trooper Fry. State Police.
Yeah, there's somebody after me.
I'm sorry?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Okay, where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you, ma'am?
I don't know.
You're driving right now?
No, I'm inside the house.
I'm sorry?
I'm inside the house.
What house?
I don't know. Can you trace where I am?
I'm sorry?
Can you trace where I am?
No, I can't. What's your callback number you're calling from?
Huh?
What phone number are you calling from?
Somebody's asking me. Please.
Are you in Suffolk County or Nassau County?
I'm in Long Island.
Where on Long Island are you?
No. No. No, stop, no.
What's the matter? Are you okay?
What are you going to do?
What's a little slow, eh?
What are you going to do to me?
She's in a house on my...
Why?
Huh? Well, I don't know, but it was transferred to me.
Why?
No.
What are you going to kill me?
It's running through, I think it's Suffolk County on the map, but it's County Monastic.
Kill me? Why are you going to
Call Suffolk County.
You freaking down, come on.
I'm in the middle of nowhere?
Let's go back to Manhattan, right? We're in Long Island. We're up near the water.
Please, stop.
So picture number 2, this is kind of the neighborhood where it all went down for Shannon. So picture number 2 shows the Oak Beach neighborhood. And while they don't give you like the street exactly, you can kind of see the highway. And then you can see 2 roads kind of running parallel to the highway. And then to the far right, that's that kind of marshy area. So that's kind of the direction that Shannon ran off in.
Past Anchor
And-
Way, you mean?
Oh, you have it really zoomed in. Probably. Like it's the big chunk
Anchor Way's
of
that
open land.
last kind of
Okay.
street before the marsh. So
Okay.
Closer to the road, like the highway. I think it's called
okay.
Ocean
Ocean
Parkway.
Parkway.
Yeah.
So picture number 3 kind of gives you an indication of maybe what happened after this. So a
The cop
Suffolk,
cars.
yeah. So a Suffolk County Police Department officer named John Malia was conducting searches for Gilbert, so that's Shannon, with his trained cadaver dog, a German Shepherd named Blue, on December 11th, 2010. Just the day before my birthday, just in case you want to send me presents, guys. So
I know I'll be
Not 2010 though.
No, us now. Send me presents now. So John and Blue had been out numerous times in this area doing searches for Shannon specifically. So this just happened to be the day that he was out. Kind of crappy weather. I mean, December weather is known for being incredibly gray. And, you know, you're on the beach side. It's probably really cold and rainy. But it turned out to be a very memorable day because on this day, he found remains on a beach near the same community called Gilgo Beach. So here's where Gilgo comes in.
Okay.
These remains were later identified as Melissa Barthélemy. So that's the next picture.
So not even
She's gorgeous too.
So she is the very, very pretty blonde. And she, you know, also had the 2000 eyebrows. But like she's gorgeous. She was last seen on July 12th, 2009.
So today in 2009.
Oh my God, today's July 12th.
Today's recording.
Holy crap.
Oh,
Oh
shivers.
my God, that's scary. But this is
15
where
years ago today.
this is where things go off the rails because soon after they found Melissa, police discovered 3 additional bodies. They found the bodies
at Gilgo.
all very close to each other. So essentially all in the same area on the beach. So they found Melissa, they found Maureen Raynard Barnes. So she's picture number 5. She was missing since July 9th, 2007,
July 9th.
which is Chantel's
My birthday. Okay, so
And then they found more Megan Waterman, who's picture 6. She was missing since June 6, 2010. And then they found Amber Costello. She's number 7 here. And she was missing since September 2nd, 2010. They were all found approximately 150 meters or 500 feet from each other. So
wow. So they were placed there.
100%. Clearly not all at the same time, but the same person was going to this place. Like this was literally dump
A
site
dumping
number
ground.
1.
So Sorry, maybe you'll go over it soon, but this beach, can you see it on that other map? Like, is it around some of the houses?
I'd have to look, but yes, it's in the exact same area. Because
But
I mean,
like,
they were
because there's one side that has houses, and then there's another side of the highway that looks more like out beachy.
they're on the other side.
So not around like
So
I
essentially,
can
if
see
you
like
were,
beaches kind of along here. So I'm
there's
guessing.
beaches that on that whole strip, but
yeah. That's why I just wasn't sure which
yeah.
side it was on because one side
Gilgo
has
Beach
a lot of
is on the
houses.
opposite side.
Opposite side. Okay.
But I mean, like he was looking for Shannon in that one corner, start to branch out. So like that's how close this beach is to where Shannon went missing. So like they're in the same area. So looked for Shannon, found 4 unrelated, dead, murdered, missing women.
Wait, and did not find Shannon yet.
Did not find Shannon. So, but I mean, I'll kind of go into it. It's because of Shannon that they ended up
this
finding
whole
these
They're
people.
finding these women.
Right.
So that's kind of why a lot of I got chills again. The story's just wild.
Yeah.
This is kind of why, Shannon unintentionally is the reason why we're here now, and we're going to kind of go. But this is nearly a closed case. This is not a cold case anymore. Like things are piping hot and
Underway.
happening right now, and that's all because of Shannon. Like it's really unfortunate that
She had to
Shannon
pass.
Shannon died, and they still don't know exactly her story, but it's because they were looking for her that this whole other thing kind of became uncovered.
Were
So-
these other women sex workers as well, or
Yep.
okay?
Again, like women can't do sex work safely. Like it's just
No.
this planet, man. So so just to recap, we were in December 2010. So very early the next year, March 2011, we have picture 8. This is Jessica along that same Ocean Parkway, Long Island. More partial remains were found. These were of Jessica
Partial.
Taylor. That comes up a lot. Animals were not involved. Partial
Ugh.
remains of Jessica. She was last seen July 21st, 2003, which is Damien's birthday.
Oh my God, what's with all the birthdays?
Damn.
And I'm not, I hope that no one's getting a fan. I'm not trying to make light. It's just, when dates
No, that's creepy.
coincide, I just find that kind of,
That reminds me of that guy you went on a date with.
oh my God. Okay, do we have time for a quick story time?
I think we need
know
a
what?
light to.
I think because this case doesn't get good. Okay,
No.
so if you're not
But
interested,
by get good, she means doesn't go on a happy note. It's a good case.
yeah, like this case is getting very more intense. So let's take a quick dating adventure stories of Megan in 2014, 15.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
So, I'm on the apps. I think we all have been at some point. I used to meet people in real life, and then internet became a big thing, and like this is how it is now. So I'm all about if there's good chat, if it's interesting, if you're like good enough, like, cute looking. I'm not huge into looks. It's personality is what's more important. So whatever it was, the chat was good enough. I'm like, let's just kind of get this out of the way. Let's have a quick little coffee date. If there's no in-person chemistry, well, then that's kind of my answer.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to go to this kind of nicer cafe in the city that I lived in, and we show up, and they're literally closed for a Christmas party. So how would you have known that? Didn't check the internet. I just assumed like it would be open.
Yeah.
It was not open.
Yeah.
So that's like red flag number 1. The universe is like, don't do it. Go.
Don't date this guy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, it's just
Not
an
working.
accident. Across the street is a Tim Hortons, which like, I'm not in junior high school. I don't want to have a first date at Tim Hortons. I'm a grown woman. Take me to a cafe at least. But that's all
Or at
there
least a
is.
Starbucks.
But we had no idea. And I'm not going to get in this guy's car. I don't know who he is.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
of course.
We go to the Tim Hortons, and I'm taking off my coat, my gloves, and all this stuff. And we're just chatting. And right away, I'm like, you have like crazy eyes? Like, I'm just not. Like, I knew right away. I'm like, this is not going to be it. So we're talking, and my God, it's been so long. But we come up on, do you believe in like kind of spiritual like elements and paranormal and all this kind of stuff? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm into that. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay,
Like, tell
we can
me.
work with this.
Because I'm into that too. And there's like there's degrees where it's like kind of normal, and then there's degrees where I'm
And
like,
then there's him.
so essentially he says, yeah, sometimes I will like see numbers, and I'll see them in all these places over and over, and like I know that that's just the universe talking to me, and I'm like, okay.
Which like it can there's some merit behind that sometimes.
Like, okay, well, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna dip my toe. Like, tell me a little more.
Yeah.
And I believe he said one time he found numbers in like his onion rings that told him something. He was going to go on a flight, or his dad was going to go on a flight, and he saw numbers on a billboard, and he's like, Dad, you're going to die if you get on that plane. Don't. And he
Did
would
the
find
plane
like,
crash?
no, of course not. He would find numbers in
I mean, I
like,
don't want it to have crashed, but just
you know when you get like you get like flyers to like a grocery store for like, and there's bananas on sale. He was finding numbers in the prices of produce. He was like, oh my God, that's a sign. And he was just going deeper and deeper. I'm like, you may actually have a little like mental health problem, just a little, because like it was just going beyond. So I'm slowly putting my gloves back on, slowly putting my scarf back on, going, oh, okay, yeah. Wow. Boy, that sure is something.
Well, I know a number you're not going to get.
Right. Well, it's too late though. He already had my number.
Yeah. It's getting blocked.
So it was just, and I don't want to like yuck someone's interest. If you're into that, cool. It was just way too much for me on a first date. And I'm like, all the best to you, sir. Thank you for paying $1.50 for my coffee. I'm going to go.
Yeah. Which is saying something, because you are very open-minded and you like this kind of thing. So if he went too far, then you know it's too far.
Something in the eyes was like, you're in danger, girl.
It was like number 23 or something. Wasn't that the movie where it was like Jim Carrey,
I love
and
that
he's like,
movie.
Well,
I love that movie.
numbers
and it was definitely just the number 23, and like Jim Carrey went crazy. So I'm already thinking like, this is the weirdest date. And honestly, I can't even remember now. It's been so long. It's been almost 10 years since that first date.
Jesus.
But I'm walking home and he's like, I saw more numbers in signs, and I just know that that's going to be a good sign for us. And I'm like, oh, guys,
wow, you're really off with your number prediction.
the numbers are not your friend today, sir. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Listen,
although
And we're married now. No, I'm kidding.
and that was her first date with Damien.
Oh my God, hell no.
He comes in the back. He's like, babe, I just saw the number
numbers
56.
told me.
yeah, although we have to admit, like when we had what 902 listeners or downloads last month, and we were like 902 Nova Scotia area code. It makes sense. We're on the right track.
Yeah. So I think that's totally different. That's
there's
nice.
Yes,
there's a
it
difference
was
between
cute,
things
right?
like just happening versus like I'm going through the flyer and I'm looking for a number. Like it's
I'm seeing it in street
between
signs
it coming
and
to you
exit
versus
signs.
like searching for it. You know?
Yeah, it's more just fun. Like,
sorry, I'm
what
like
people see
in
to
this
that
moment. In this moment, we are not searching for it. It just happened in this case.
yeah, if I see 1111, I'm like, I have to make a wish.
Make a wish.
Yes.
You know, it's 1111.
Yeah,
And because my birthday is December 12th, I see 1212, and I'm like, oh no, it's a bonus wish. Is how I see it.
Okay, I like that.
Okay,
That's how Eric sees it too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God.
birthday twins.
Yeah.
So that's just a little levity before we get into more of this really bad stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Let's back into it. Okay.
Yeah. So
I am sweating too. Don't worry.
Oh my God. And you know what it is? I'm such a little baby now. So certain alcohols, like I don't really drink a lot anymore. Certain alcohols just kickstart this like body transformation. So I had a little bit of vodka. Now my body is like, oh, you want to die right now? So I'm sweating. And just for anyone that's listening, no, I'm not in my 50s. It's not menopause, okay? It's just, I don't even know what it is. Why can't I enjoy one drink with my friends talking about a terrible crime?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not in the cards for you.
not
It's
fair.
not the numbers for you.
Although somehow when I was with you guys a couple of weeks ago, even though we drank decently and consistently, I didn't get hungover and I didn't feel.
I didn't even get drunk.
I think
we
it
took a
was
little
because I
bit
was
one
with you
night.
guys. My body was just, or we were staying hydrated. I don't know. I didn't get drunk either. I was just pleasantly good.
I'm going to try better next time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get me
we'll
drunker,
get us more.
please.
You know what? Next time we will actually buy the bottle of tequila. Like
That's
fuck these mixed drinks.
Because the time we got to the tequila, it was like the last drink of the last night, and by that
We had,
point, I don't
we had
think we
midnight
were.
margaritas, and our bodies couldn't take it.
No.
Yeah, we're like, I'm just gonna sip this and maybe drink some water. So
And then we poured them all out.
I know. I
And I
wasted
juiced-
tequila.
I juiced 100 limes for that. I juiced all the limes.
Like a 3-pound bag of lime, all juiced.
However, didn't know I was going to need all those limes. I have 1 lime left from
Thank
that.
you,
I'm sure
Costco.
it's petrified now.
Yeah.
I got a
I hope
petrified
knowing the
lemon
next
in there.
day, like Damien's like, I can't wait to go have some limes today because I bought so many.
Today.
I want some lime smoothie, and it's
That could be like an orange Julius, but with
It
lime.
was good though, Megan. It taste wise 10 out of 10.
It's
I
just
drank
too
as much as I
much.
could.
My body was like, you're going to throw up if you have this.
yeah.
Okay, now let's
Okay.
stop having fun because
All
trans
right.
people deserve our serious attention.
Okay.
So we're going to get back into it. So I'm just going to kind of restart. We're talking about Jessica Taylor. So she was last seen July 2003. Police were able to positively match additional remains of Jessica's that were found in 2003. So just in case you're not following along, that means that her remains were in 2 separate locations.
But still on the same beach.
No,
Oh.
not at all.
So pretty far away from each other.
Earlier remains of hers were found in Manorville, Suffolk County, 46 miles away from
Wow.
where her current ones were found. So that's 74 kilometers. And those were found about a week after she went missing. So
Okay.
part
So
was
someone's
found
trying
sooner.
to make it harder to identify her by probably.
I suppose so. I find it really confusing why you would do that because it's not even like it was it's a big distance, but it's still in the same like general area. But I mean, it took them long enough because they found part in 2003 and then part in 2011.
The other women that you mentioned, were they found in full, or was it also parts of them?
For the most part, full.
Okay.
I'll come up. It gets like I don't get graphic, but you can read between the lines when you can see.
Yeah.
So
People were dismembered. I get it.
yes,
Yeah.
spelling it out. So in April of
Post
2011,
mortem, I hope.
so that I don't know. It is believed that it was not like for some serial killers, a huge part of it is not the death act; it's everything leading up to the death.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a play here, and I'll show you more information later. Again, I don't go into details because you guys can Google that stuff. I don't think you need to be hearing that on your way to work, or if you're out on a walk in nature, you don't need to hear that. We're going to tell you just
in the
kind
car
of.
with your kids.
Oh, if there's kids here, maybe this is not the podcast to listen to.
No,
at this
listen to the shark episode with your kids.
Yeah.
Even then. Oh
That's
no,
coming
the sciencey shark one is good. Oh, Hermione one is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lindsay's
that's-
is kind of
now
violent.
it's already come out, but yeah, if you go back to July
Time travel.
and you want this, like, you have children, so I know one of my friends listens with his kids sometimes. Listen to the shark
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Not
This
this
will be good. Not this one.
That sharks are not the enemy. It's man every time.
Mm-hmm.
So April 2011 this is only 1 month later. There are 3 more sets of remains identified.
Jesus.
Or not even
Christ.
identified, discovered, I should say, because there is an unidentified Asian person, and then there's Valerie Mack. She is identified. So I have photos. So I have a sketch of this Asian person unidentified. So you can see 2 photos. I'll explain that in a second. And then we have Valerie Mack, who just
She
is
looks
so.
like such a baby.
I know. I love her hair. She's this beautiful kind of brown, reddish,
Does
curly
look
hair.
like she's like 14 or 15.
Can I just say, when researching this case, I understand that if you have, you know what, is my cousin going to come home soon? So, talking about Valerie Mack, beautiful hair, looks so sweet. Oh, what I was going to say, there's not a whole lot of photos of these people because sometimes it's just what's found online, like the news agencies. Sometimes family will send photos in. Now, Valerie looks super cute. And I think this is the one where they use her mugshot for a lot of the victim photos where she's looking rough. She's likely
Do you
not
call it a
living-
mugshot if it's a victim?
But that is what it was. It was when,
they had
when
a-
she so she was either
I just
arrested
thought that was a
for-
term for she was arrested?
Yes. So
Because remember, these
This
are
little
sex
baby?
workers.
So it was either for sex work or
Okay,
I don't want to imply, but it looks similar to other photos I've seen if people are involved in like meth or heroin. just some
But
of
this
the
is not her
facial-
mugshot that we have. This
This
just
is a
her
nice photo that I
photo.
found where she
Okay.
looks like a beautiful young woman, which is what she was when she died. So
She just
maybe,
looks so young that
maybe do better and don't choose photos on someone's worst day when they are violently
murdered
killed.
victim. Yeah.
So I chose the nice photos I could find because they're human beings and it just feels so wrong. Anyway, that's my rant.
Doesn't matter how they got to that point in life. Just
It does not take as much as you think for someone to go from living an everyday life to worst case scenario. It's actually scarily easy how fragile society is. That's a different story. So Valerie was last seen in the spring or summer of 2000. It was really sad. They couldn't narrow down exactly when. I guess she was kind of a little transient, kind of going from place to place. And so some friends and family saw, but they really aren't sure. So that's heartbreaking in itself.
Wow.
So that was in 2000. Partial remains of whom, like Jessica Taylor, had been found in Manorville years earlier in November 2000. So we see some connections already with similar places. I mentioned that 3 sets of remains were found. This one's brutal, guys. There was an unidentified female toddler who was also found. Yeah.
oh my God.
So bad, really, really bad. So there's an unidentified Asian person. There's Valerie, and there's a literal baby. And they're all found in the same place.
Jesus.
I will circle back and I'll give you more details. So the next person we're going to talk about is Karen. That's picture 11. It's kind of like the 70s kind of style black and white photo.
Ooh, yeah.
So
Like the hair is very 70s.
The Farrah Fawcett.
it is very Farrah Fawcett. And she just looks like a, beautiful woman. Like they're all beautiful people. So very soon after, 2 more bodies were found. Yes, Marilyn Manson. Were found in Nassau County. Now, I've heard this term 1,000 times. I'm not from New York. So for non-New Yorkers, this is a big chunk of Long Island closest to Queens. And Queens is another big county in New York. So that helped. If you look, like Long Island kind of sticks out from I guess the bigger chunk of the state. So it's like the first big chunk of Long Island kind of touching Queens.
Okay.
Everyone's probably laughing at me, being like, duh, we know. I didn't know.
I don't.
I've only been to New York once, so I know vaguely.
Same.
What this is, but yeah.
I've been to
We were all there together.
Yeah, we went together.
We were.
God, that was so much
God,
fun.
how long ago was that?
Do you really want to know?
2015, wasn't it?
9 years.
9.
9
Oh
years.
my gosh.
9 years, like in 2 months. It was 9 years ago.
Well, 10-year reunion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except I'm never getting the bus again, ever.
Oh,
Gosh,
Vadim's
that was the
never
one
been
part
there.
That was terrible.
Well, Damie's also never been there.
So we'll have to
Okay,
take.
Eric's never been there either, so
Okay, couple strip.
Okay.
You mean
done.
you don't want somebody yelling at us on the bus at 1 a.m., but not even at us, just like in general?
And he also has to be Jamaican and the deepest voice ever. And he should be
Don't
out of
get
his
off the bus when I say get off. Stay on the bus. You don't get off the bus. Just like
Takes
for
me
like
right
10
back.
minutes. 10 minutes
we
straight.
we could have flown for like an hour, but we decided to save some money and take a 12-hour bus.
Okay, to be fair, we did save a lot of money though, and I was a very broke student. Very broke student.
Yes. I don't think any of us had a lot of money. We'll save like half the
I-
trip if we just take
I
this
know, but-
weird bus at midnight.
I think you guys really took one for me though. I think you guys took it like I think you would have definitely probably gone another route.
We flew back. So
Yeah, God. But it was a
yeah.
fun experience. And
It
I'm never
was.
going to forget getting off the bus in the middle of the city. And it's like, well, goodbye. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we're just here now. Okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure out where to go.
Do you remember we were crossing the border and I made a joke with the border security and she
Oh,
like,
was
almost
so
killed me?
serious. Like
And I was like,
deadpan.
I should shut up.
Yeah. You don't joke
Yeah.
with those people, Megan.
Our trip
I don't know
almost
what you were
ended right
thinking.
there. Like, no.
Yeah, I was like,
And it was like the
over
middle
before
of the
even began.
night. Like they didn't want to be there either. They're the ones on night shift, and Megan's like, "I'm gonna make a funny joke," and they're like, "This isn't funny."
What was your
I'm
joke?
sure I can't, like, I could remember that.
Yeah.
Probably
What's the
something
funny-
about guns?
No, it would never.
No, that would have actually got us
have a death
probably
wish.
denied.
God, just keep your mouth shut when you're with government officials because they don't have sense of humor on the job.
No,
And they shouldn't.
no.
Okay. Anyway, my God, so many tangents today.
Farrah Fawcett. Let's go.
Okay, so soon after, 2 more bodies were found in Nassau County. Explain where that was. The remains were that of Karen Vergata, who was last seen February 14th, 1996, whose partial remains were previously found on Fire Island of April of that year. So just FYI, so that's one person, remains found in two sections.
Another person with,
Okay.
2 sections.
And also found were the unidentified remains of a woman with a very distinctive tattoo of peaches, which I think is such a cute tattoo idea. That's
cute.
picture number 12.
It's like a little peach
You can
heart.
see a little peach heart.
No.
So, crazy. She was later found to be the mother of the unidentified toddler.
Oh.
So brutal. To this day, they are both unidentified.
But you have her name,
Nope.
didn't you?
That's two people. Karen is the photo.
You think with this tattoo,
so this.
I
Okay.
know.
someone would recognize it? Like,
And it looks
someone must
fresh.
know.
So, originally, I'll kind of go through it, but they had found her remains in separate locations. So she was called Jane Doe, I think number 6, and then they found the peaches element, but they had no idea they were the same person. Part of her remains were found on June 28th, 1997. So this is later, but they hadn't connected them yet. So now they've done more research and more DNA, and they found out that it is the same person. So now she goes by Peaches instead of Jane Doe, which is at least more personal. It's just very, very sad. Later that year, we're in November 2011 now. I have 2 photos for you. They're very similar, but it really just shows the amount of beautiful, innocent people that were found on this one stretch of beach. So the first photo is from the Suffolk County Police. We're going to have these up on the screen, or we'll have them on our Instagram, and it just shows you all the different body locations. You can see in the corner, top right corner, that Jane Doe number 6 and female toddler, which is Peaches. So that's mother and daughter.
Yeah.
So at the time they didn't know they were related, but at least they were together.
Makes sense
It's
that
just,
they were,
just
that the
heartbreaking.
mom found near the toddler.
In the second photo here, they have a few more photos. So this is an example. So
it's an Asian male they found, so it's a man.
So I'm gonna
So
get
it's
into
the
that.
one man. Okay.
I'm calling it Asian person, and I'll tell you why. In the second photo, you can see the top right has Valerie Mack. So that is clearly a police booking photo.
Yeah.
So were they not able of giving her a nicer, like, I just find that of all the things.
Yeah. I mean, she still doesn't look bad by any,
No.
considering it's a mugshot, but yeah, you could
No, but
definitely work to find the best photo of the victims that you can.
No.
I mean,
especially if you know who they are, you probably know who their families are. I'm sure
Yeah,
somebody
you'd
has
think.
a photo.
Yeah, like ask for a photo. So then this brings us to November 29th, 2011. Police announced they believe one person to be responsible for all 10 of these murders.
Wait.
And that the
what year did this happen that they announced it? I thought it was
2011.
Oh.
Police announced that they believe one person is responsible for all 10 of these murders, and the perpetrator is almost certainly from Long Island because of the location of all of these bodies. The single killer theory stems from common characteristics between the condition of the remains and just evidence. So again, I don't go into detail of what was done to the victims here, but I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably like true crime. So you know that MO is so strong with people, and you can make connections just based on how they're found, how they're concealed or not concealed, just different marks on the remains, if it's skeletal, whatever it is. So they kind of looked at this and they thought this is likely one person. At this time, the 4 women I mentioned at the beginning, so that is Amber, Melissa, Megan, and Maureen, they're referred to as the Gilgo 4 because they were found essentially together in a small group. But in general, there's the Long Island serial killer moniker, and that's just to describe the overall group of people, I guess, that one person. So now we're going to go to December 2011. Shannon Gilbert's remains were located in Oak Beach, December 2011, 19 months after her disappearance. So Shannon was found,
Okay.
not alive.
Okay.
So a week earlier.
On Gilgo, sorry, said.
No, Oak Beach.
Oak.
So across the street, essentially. So really where she went missing, she was found.
Yeah, generally the same
She was
area.
found there. Yeah. So a week earlier, some of her clothing and belongings had been discovered in the same vicinity in which she went missing, like I said. It's believed that Shannon got lost in the marsh, which had 12-foot tall reeds. You could easily get disoriented. Don't forget, we think that she could have been under the influence of something. She was also very, very scared, and it wasn't like it was a hot, very small, and it wasn't a hot summer day. It was, spring. It's not cold, but early morning.
Yeah.
So the authorities believe her death may be accidental. I don't know.
Okay.
Wouldn't there be some evidence from her body that would say
Yeah,
one or the
the
other?
way she was found, I think there may have been water in her lungs. I can't recall, but it really doesn't seem like it was. I don't know. It's tough. So police
If
agree.
it was, though, he killed in a different way than he normally would have.
I don't think that. Well, we're gonna get to it later, but I don't think that she is actually connected to this larger group of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that she wasn't hurt by someone. It just sounds very.
There was definitely something weird going on that night.
Yeah, it's not. So I don't go into great detail because again, I'm kind of covering the broader case here, but it really sounds like it's not clear one way or another. It's not clearly a homicide. It's not clearly accidental. I think the way her body was found, it looks like maybe she was, not. Obviously she was alive, but you assume someone's drowning, they would be found in water, and she was not.
Yeah.
And she wasn't.
Still just doesn't make sense. Maybe they're withholding
it's weird.
information currently so that they can use that in their case.
Yeah, I don't know. And I just want to say that she's not been connected to the Gilgo Beach or the LISK serial killer. She has not been connected to the man that she was there to visit, to do her job. She wasn't connected to her driver, he was cleared. So there's nothing. It's kind of just left open, and her family, clearly not happy because they kind of just go, well, we found her, and they almost kind of just wash their hands. They do credit, the search for Shannon. Like I said, the reason why they uncovered everything else, maybe they never would have, or maybe it would have been too late to really get anything done about it. So,
And
so
maybe
Shannon
she stopped future murders from happening. Get to that. I don't know, but
not necessarily.
okay.
Oh, great.
So they do agree, though, that the search for Shannon led to the first steps in connecting the dots in multiple missing and murdered women in Long Island along Gilgo Beach and Ocean Parkway. She's been called an unintended hero. And like I mentioned, if you listen to Shannon's 911 call, it could go one of two ways. She was either drugged or it could have been self-induced intoxication. It's hard to tell. Maybe she entered some kind of psychosis that was induced by whatever kind of chemicals she had in her body. And it was accidental, and it was a mixture of exposure. Maybe she drowned, who really knows? Or maybe one of those men did harm her. It's so her remains may show signs of manual strangulation, but it's inconclusive. There's the hyoid bone. I can't even speak. Hyoid. Help me. And it's damaged, but I guess there are other reasons why that could happen. Could have happened for another accident as a child. It's just not. It's not clear cut, and so they're not willing to say yes or no.
Was her phone found near her? I don't know if you know that.
I don't have that information.
Okay.
It didn't say. So in 2012, her death was ruled an accidental drowning, and it's not been officially connected to Gilgo Beach or LISK. Mary Gilbert, Shannon's mother, advocated for the theory that her daughter had been murdered by a serial killer and blamed police inaction for the failure to identify her daughter's murderer. I kind of agree. They definitely tried to find her later, but that night, no one was there to help her.
Right. No one even went out to see what was going on.
No one even did a drive-by to speak with.
Maybe, hypothetically, if she had fallen somewhere and died because of drowning.
Maybe they could have found her that night.
It could have found her early enough, right? That way she would be alive today. So clearly,
guys, it gets so much worse.
I don't know what the consequences were for people not
doesn't sound like anything
doing anything.
Doesn't sound like anyone Surprise, surprise.
I just feel for her family knowing that she did what she was supposed to do.
It's gonna make you extra upset. So Mary is her mother.
Perfect. Strap it.
So Mary Gilbert is the mother.
Yeah.
Mary Gilbert was killed by her daughter, Sarah Gilbert, who was 27, who was convicted of murder in 2016. Sarah suffered
Jesus.
from schizophrenia, and there was one report claiming that she had heard voices in her head telling her to carry out this crime. So Sarah was charged with second-degree murder and fourth-degree possession of a weapon, convicted of murder, and sentenced to 25 years in prison in August 2017. So that family is just obliterated.
Wow.
Yeah. The dad is nowhere to.
I
No
assume
mention?
not in the picture. He wasn't
Okay.
mentioned. I just wanted to kind of wrap up that, like, none of these Gilberts had an easy life. And it's
No.
just, it's just so heartbreaking. And it's just so long ago. You can't even really do anything now to help. It's just, damn. There's really no words. It's just very sad. Moving on to the next picture. So this one looks a little bit older. You can kind of tell from the quality. So it's picture 15 for you guys. So another person that was later found to be related to the murder is Sandra Castilla. So she's 28 years old from Trinidad and Tobago, was last seen November 19th, 1993. She was found by hunters about 60 miles or 96 kilometers away from Gilgo Beach the day after she was last seen.
The day after.
So I think that they have, I can't even remember now, but I think that they've connected her. This could be one of his first victims, but it also implies that, you know, we all know this. People don't go from day one, I think I want to kill someone, day two to killing someone. There's always a build up to it. Right. So it's very unlikely that she is the first. She could have been just the first connected, but it just shows you that it just goes so much deeper than I think people realized. At this point, I'll take a little bit of time to talk about some of the other potential victims. These people have not been officially related. So the two main ones is going to be that unidentified Asian person and Andre Isaac. So Andre is picture 16. So these ones are a little bit harder to connect, but the main theory is this. The man responsible for these murders had an MO of seeking out and murdering sex workers. Like, this is not new at all for just men in general.
Yeah.
So
I think the easy target because they're not going to be, people aren't looking for them all.
They're living a high-risk lifestyle. Oh
dare
my
they?
God. If you made sex work legal, it could be safe, structured. The government could even tax
For
it.
everybody
care.
involved.
Yeah.
Safe for everybody. Oh my God.
Oh, that's
it just
like when they legalized it here, but they made it illegal to, you can sell sex, but you cannot buy it.
They make everything around it illegal, so they don't
Yes.
make it illegal. But
if you
they
pay
make it
someone
impossible
for
to
someone
do
for
it.
sex, but you record it, it's porn and that's legal. So make it make sense.
All right.
Anyway, I'm mad. So these two people either identified as women or born male, or at least presented female, or had a little bit of just kind of a fluidity in kind of how they were identified, how they were living their life. So biologically, both of these folks were born male. Andre, I think, lived as a man, but the other person, it's really hard to tell. So that's why, just to be respectful, I'm just going to say person, because they're not here to let us know how they want to identify. So this is just so precious and so sad. So Andre went by the name Sugar Bear, and he was a popular New York drag queen. I find Sugar Bear so cute. So worked as a drag queen, but often dressed as a woman, just in day to day. So there could have been kind of some fluidity there. Like not everyone that's in drag is transgender. Some people are men and like dressed as women.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. And then again, we can't ask Andre. So his mother told PIX 11 News that Andre was last seen alive in November 2002. And his remains were found in separate locations on separate dates in December 2002 and January 2003.
Wow. So very shortly after
Yeah.
disappearing.
And I have some details on how that broke down, but I just don't think we need to talk about that. So if you're interested, you can look it up. It doesn't add anything to the story. It's horrific. It's really horrific. So That's all you need to know. All right?
Okay.
Moving on. So picture 9 is this unidentified Asian person. So they were found on Gilgo Beach, April 4th, 2011, kind of when they were finding a lot of people in a short time on that beach. They're only identified as being Asian, somewhere between the ages of 17 and 23. And like I mentioned, biologically male. They were found wearing women's clothing and jewelry. So it's just hard to know for sure. So we'll just leave them as unidentified. So along with this Asian victim and the victims Peaches and Baby Peach, which is what I'm calling them, Baby Peach. Mm-hmm. So it was a Black woman and her daughter. So they were all located on June 28th, 1997 and April 4th, 2011. They were identified as mother and daughter through DNA. And I mentioned before, Peaches was originally called Jane Doe number 3. That's when she was found in Hempstead.
Number 3 or
Lake.
number 6?
No, number 6.
I thought it was number 6. It's number 3.
Oh, but it
wrong.
says on the map number 6 is next to the female toddler.
Oh, maybe then I messed it up. Maybe then I was right when I said number 6 to begin with.
Okay.
But yeah, you know what? If there's a fact correction. Hey, future Meg here. So my notes were a little confusing, even though I wrote them myself. So I'm just popping in to clarify the location and the initial names given to Peaches and Valerie Mack. So the partial remains of an unknown victim, now known as Peaches, were found on June 28, 1997, near Hempstead Lake State Park. In 2011, skeletal remains were found at Jones Beach State Park, and they were given the name Jane Doe number 3. Those were later identified to be Peaches using DNA. Valerie Mack's partial remains were discovered in Manorville, New York in the year 2000, and at this time she was unidentified. So this part's going to get bad. Gear up. Her head, hands, and right foot were later found on Gilgo Beach, Long Island in 2011. So that was the same time frame as the other Gilgo Beach discoveries. Her remains on Gilgo Beach were named Jane Doe number 6, and it was near her remains that the toddler's remains were found. And that toddler was later linked through DNA to Peaches. They found out that that was mother and daughter. So yes, I'm really sorry for the confusion. It's a real sad day when there's so many Jane Does and partial remains found all over that it was confusing to keep it clear. But I just felt it was important to let you guys know what the facts were, keep it straight, and obviously give these women and that poor little girl the respect that they deserved. So now that I've severely bummed us all out, back to the case. So maybe I said earlier they were found together and I was incorrect. Okay. That would be nicer, I guess, if they were found together.
Yeah. They're together now, though.
Yeah. Fuck, Christ, that's so bad. So one good thing, there was no obvious signs of trauma on the toddler. So however that went down, it could have been a lot worse, I guess. There's nothing nice to say about that. It's horrendous. Right. We're going to know kind of.
I just think about like My Little Baby.
It's best not
No,
to.
don't do it.
Honestly, I
don't do that to yourself at all.
No. I just, it's just,
Yeah,
well,
it's hard not to. But yourself, you're a mom.
I mean, yeah. Well, you're a human being, number one, but then to have someone who is like that age, like how do you not relate it to yourself? Oh, bad. Okay. It gets worse though. So
okay, perfect.
In July of 2007, a friend of Maureen, her name is Sarah Carnes, received a phone call from a man claiming he had just seen Maureen and that she was alive and well, staying at a whorehouse in Queens. That's in quotes.
Quote, yeah, for those listening and not watching.
Yeah, like, my God. 2 years later, in July and August of 2009, Amanda Barthélemy, so this is the sister of Melissa, received a series of vulgar, mocking, and insulting calls from a man using Melissa's cell phone. The caller eventually tells Amanda that her sister is dead.
Jesus.
So he's now taunting this young woman. At first, she's saying, oh, I think I saw your sister. I think she's okay. Then it slowly devolves into this. He's leaving her like disgusting phone calls.
Wow.
Just being a fucking pig. And then he tells her that her sister's dead.
So he's obviously getting to the point now too where he's like, I can't be caught. I'm going to start
amping it
taunting
But
people.
it's almost like he wants to get a little like
He just wants more interaction, more attention. He's
Right.
clearly sadistic because what is he getting out of that phone call? Talking
Yeah,
to
just to get
his murder victim's sister. He just wants more.
wants to be in the news. He wants to
It's almost like he likes the torture pain element, and he's getting that from talking to Amanda.
I mean, assuming this is the real, I guess this would be has to be the real killer then, right?
100% it is.
Well, he has a phone.
Well,
I know sometimes hoaxes happen, so I'm just if he's calling from
Yeah.
he's calling from Melissa's phone.
they know like the killer.
Well, and they were able to maybe do some police work later
and figure out like maybe where this call was coming from.
I'm nodding my head in agreement. Yeah.
All right, well you'll
So-
get to it. Sorry.
Now we're going to jump forward a little bit from 2009 to 2011, 2012. Not a whole lot of updates. It's actually pretty quiet for about 10 years. So all of these folks are found in pretty quick succession. And during this time, they are doing some DNA. They're connecting some dots, but they're really just connecting victim remains to other victim remains. They're not really working on a profile, it sounds like. Of course, there could be things behind the scenes, but it really just sounds like nothing was happening. Okay, so during that break, so I pretty much just said what I just wrote down here, that they are grouping people together. Remains are identified, separate remains that were found, separate locations are bringing them together to realize it's one person. They identify Peaches as the mother to the toddler. And then Shannon's 911 call is released to the public, at least in portions. I think now the whole thing is out, but back then it just was portions. Okay. So this is kind of where it gets, like, things are heating up now. Investigators initially accuse a carpenter from Manorville, New York, of Mrs. Castilla's death, but they have since cleared him. Plot twist, that suspect was, however, convicted of killing 2 other women. So it's kind of like your gut's right, but it's wrong. Like,
Yeah, I mean they
he's a
were
bad
down
guy.
the right path, and they
Yeah.
got
Just
this
not
person,
not
but-
the right victims.
right.
So police and the FBI probably, I'm assuming at this point, create some kind of psychological profile. I assume the FBI is involved because that's literally their jam.
Yeah,
Was
and
that a
that's the
burp
stuff I
Chantal?
found
It was
very
a burp.
interesting.
I find that stuff really
Profiles,
interesting.
right?
Me too. If you're
Just why I
criminal
loved
minds fan-
Manhunter.
Oh, that's a good book. The movie is based on the book, by the way.
Isn't the
So-
TV series based on it too?
Probably.
Yeah.
Which is like it's a John Douglas, Robert Ressler, like the grandpas.
The book is really good.
Yes, yes. Or Mindhunter. I think you
Mindhunter.
said Manhunter.
Yeah, I did say Manhunter. I meant
but
Mindhunter.
but Manhunter's also a show or a movie, or
Yeah, it's a show.
I think Thomas Harris wrote Manhunter.
I thought it was Mindhunter, the show.
No, it is.
Okay, wait.
There's
Which
just
one
different
is the
things.
one where they're talking? It's from the 70s and it's where they start actually profiling people.
Mindhunter, which is a
Mindhunter.
book, Robert
Yes.
Ressler.
And they made it a show.
And then Thomas Harris, who's the author of all of the Hannibal Lecter ones, had a movie called, I think, Manhunter. So that's spooky stuff.
Somebody is screaming at us.
I know. I'm so sorry,
We
everybody.
can flash the right things up on the screen for our YouTube.
Just all kinds of just photos of stuff.
I do this all the time during the videos, actually.
Yeah.
Here's what we were talking about.
Okay, but here's where it gets really, really good. So if you're into psychological profiles, which, yes,
Hi.
this was printed in the New York Times. So I'm going to read it out, and then we're going to see how close they got because, newsflash, someone's been arrested for all of this. And you probably already know that. So here is the profile. The perpetrator was most likely a white male in his mid-20s to mid-40s. He would be
Okay, that's quite the range.
Yeah, it's pretty wide range.
Well, it's a very wide time frame. This was released fairly recent.
Oh,
and then
fair.
The murders,
So throughout the
So-
span of the murder.
they have a little age range. He would be very familiar with the South Shore of Long Island.
Probably lives there.
He has easy access to burlap sacks. Burlap was used a lot in all of these dumping situations.
Okay.
They were used to transport
Who has
bodies.
access? Who uses, what do we use burlap sack? Potatoes?
Potatoes the last thing, but not really
buy
anymore.
them, I guess.
Or,
It's just
yeah.
like-
But maybe then.
just if you see a neighbor and he is just rich with burlap,
Question him. Got it.
Yeah.
Rich with burlap.
he may have detailed knowledge of law enforcement techniques and perhaps ties to law enforcement. And this is part of the reason why he's been able to avoid detection. Essentially, he's just really into crime shit like we all are. So just you learn what
Picked
cops
up
look for.
some tricks. Okay.
That's why we would all get away with murder. Got you.
Don't say that on air.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know what you're talking
I mean, nothing.
According to investigators, there may have been more than one killer. So that hasn't panned out as much. Profilers said the suspect would have a job and be
By
financially
more than one
secure.
killer, that means two people unlinked were dumping people in this area, or
They're just
were they
saying
working
that
together?
there could be more than one killer in relation to all of these bodies that they found. So
Okay.
that hasn't been explored or proven or really focused on, but just at the beginning, that was
It
a
was
theory.
that they thought, yeah.
Yeah. Profilers don't get it always 100% right.
Well, I think sometimes
no,
people
it
also
can't,
still have a
right.
hard time with like, oh, one person would kill this many people in this amount of span, like time span. It doesn't. It's sometimes just seems so unbelievable.
Like personally,
I mean,
for me,
think of
like,
think
I
of Bundy.
couldn't-
Think of
And, like-
how many people Bundy killed. Like it is, or it's just like
Or think about
hard to
Bruce,
fathom.
Bruce MacArthur. People were
Yes.
disappearing left, right, and center, and like off
Yeah.
the face of the earth.
And when it's this
Yeah,
many
it's-
people, it is very it's crazy.
It's hard to
that-
imagine one person.
Yeah, that out of all these people, you're not getting caught until much
Yeah,
later,
exactly.
Like,
Sometimes
and when I say things are heating up, like literally, like last July,
Yeah,
this is 2023.
that's when I first heard about all this.
Honestly, same. So they assume that he would drive an expensive car or a truck. He was likely to be married. He would appear unassuming to most people, and he has demonstrated social skills. He may even be charming. So I guess he's not what you would expect, this kind of lurking in the shadows. So the man that would come to fit these descriptors would be identified as 60-year-old Long Island native Rex Hewerman. I hate that last
Didn't they also say in the description that he might have been even an architect?
Not in the one that I found, but if we can find that, we'll pop that
Yeah.
up.
Okay, yeah, that's why I thought they're like he could be in a career something like an architect. And
Well, okay,
sorry
so
if I'm slow.
newsflash, he is in fact an architect. So if we could find
Okay.
a source for that, we'll put that in.
Yeah.
So this man first popped up as a suspect in the Gilgo Beach murders only recently, like recently in the scope of the whole thing, March 2022. That was the first time they're like, maybe it's this guy. ABC News reported that according to Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney, Hewerman was tracked through his car, a Chevrolet Avalanche, which is a truck, as stated by court documents. A witness to Costello, which is Amber Costello, a witness to her disappearance reported seeing a Chevrolet Avalanche at Costello's home, said the same court report. So how close did the psychological profile get? I mean, honestly, pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So Chris I can't ever say last names. Chris Pandolfo for Fox News said, those descriptors are nearly an exact match for Hewerman. Rex is a white man. He would have been 46 when Amber was killed in 2010. That's, they're thinking, his most recent that they can confirm. There could have been more, but that's when they can confirm for sure.
right.
He's lived in Massapequa Park, Long Island for decades. It's about 25 kilometers or 15.4 miles from Gilgo Beach and Ocean Parkway. He was happily married. I say was because his wife has since filed for divorce.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
He was happily married.
Poor
with 2
woman, like
kids.
discover, like she probably believed her husband was a stellar, upstanding guy, and
that
to
would
find this
literally
out,
rock my
like-
whole world. And they
Wow.
have 2 kids, by the way. So it's not like
Yeah.
there's some young, like a full life together.
right, and the
Jeez,
kids
guys.
are like, wow, like my dad has done this.
It actually gets so much more. Like, you know, when you watch a movie
shivers.
about a serial killer and you're like, yeah, me too.
Bumps.
You're watching a movie, you're like, wow, the writing is just like, it's, you know, like Seven or even like Silence of the Lambs. You're like, okay, you guys went too hard. Like, it's not even, it literally, you'll find out in a moment.
Okay.
And then Lindsay said he's a successful architect. He drove that black Chevrolet Avalanche truck. And
Black or white?
Black.
Oh,
I didn't say white anywhere.
okay.
You heard the
I
word
think
Avalanche and you thought snow.
yeah, that's probably it.
Oh, that is it. Look at her.
Okay, this is going to make you guys
Detective
laugh.
Megan.
Yeah.
I'm on the case. Take me off the case. Man, I can't do this. While he may have fooled most people, some neighbors describe Huerman as a creep.
Not a pillar of the
He's a
community?
weirdo.
No, that song's too good for him.
Yeah. Don't even,
He did not light up a room when he walked in. He was
No?
not a pillar of the community, no.
But the pillar of
there
the
are actually
community is
some
always the one
videos.
that is the murderer.
I don't know if you saw any videos of him, but there was one they showed, I think, on Dateline of him being interviewed, and he was kind of like,
I have seen
awkward
that.
and,
I chose
yeah.
not to watch it with sound because I could just tell his voice is like a squeaky little piece of shit voice, you know? But picture number 17, if you want to look at him, he looks gross. He looks like the human version of Shrek if that human was also an ogre.
yeah, but you
Does that
don't
make
get
sense?
Shrek either, dude. His Shrek's
Yeah,
way-
Shrek's also
no.
too good for you.
Shrek smiles above him. So this is where things get good. Huerman was arrested at his office in Midtown Manhattan on July 13th, 2003.
How embarrassing.
Very. I would just, I hope he was like mid pizza slicing and a napkin tucked in under his, like slapping the pizza out of his hand.
yeah.
So this is a quote from an ABC News article, and I'm just going to read the whole thing because it just, like, sometimes don't reinvent the wheel. It was written really, really well.
Okay.
Investigators matched DNA from hair recovered from a burlap sack used to wrap Waterman's body. That was Megan, by the way. They matched that to a leftover pizza crust Huerman threw into a Manhattan garbage can in January 2023. Huerman seemed very surprised at his arrest, and his only question was, will this be on the news? And I put a picture of a pizza crust in there, but then I do it later because really pizza crust, like, say of the day, basically.
So we had the car, which was rare enough in the area, they were able to narrow it down, and then they started doing the wait till you discard.
I go into it a little bit, but the
Okay.
car was like, let's follow this lead. And they looked at all of the trucks in the area, and they start just bringing it down till
Who
Rex
meets our
match the rest.
description, and then
Basically.
has the car.
In our profile.
Guys,
Okay.
I love databases.
It's so
Like, oh my God, it gets me so hard.
yeah. I mean, that's why I did my graduate degree in libraries and databases.
Lindsay was just hard as a rock that whole time.
I
Like,
think
"Oh,
you and
fucking live for
Megan,
this."
you and I, like, in theory, should have just done school together because the criminology.
It would have been, I know, we did a lot of the same. You could have
Yeah.
helped me in stats. God damn, that class is going to be a rock in my shoe forever. So, detectives also tracked Huerman through his cell phone records. We mentioned this earlier. Tierney said that cell phone mapping led investigators to zero in on areas in Midtown Manhattan and Massapequa where Huerman lived. So again, they're just kind of overlaying what they know, looking at him and comparing it, and things were lining up. Picture 18 is him being led, his fat gut, into court. The next day, Huerman's defense attorney entered a not guilty plea to the charges of 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of second-degree murder. This was for Megan Waterman, Melissa Bartholomew, and Amber Costello.
I'm sorry, what's the difference between first and second in the States?
I know
First
this.
degree
Wait.
murder. Oh, go for it.
It's kind of like intent, like premeditation, I believe, which is the second degree. I don't even know why that's in there, but throw the book at him, like make him.
I think it's mostly that you weren't in the moment. You weren't pre-planning to kill anyone. Like
So probably they threw some second degree ones in there because they're like, at least make something stick. We can at least prove second,
Yeah, because
even though it's likely it was all first.
this is 6 separate counts. So yes,
Yeah.
right. You intentionally killed the person, but you weren't planning to do it. It was just happened.
But I mean, in reality, he was
Here's an example.
Right, but they're probably
But
trying
they're
to get
just
him on the
seeing,
charge
like,
that
whatever we can. Yeah.
I have a partner, and we have a tumultuous relationship, and we're gonna get together to talk about our relationship, and things get really, really heated, and I kill him. Second degree murder is there was no planning, there was no mens rea, which is like you thought it out and you had like an evil mind when you did this. It was a in the moment passion, which really, unfortunately, a lot of humans are capable of this in the moment passion murder. But first degree means that I came with an arsenal. I had a knife with me. I had a gun with me. There's intent. There's planning things out.
Yeah, I get the difference between first and second now that you said it. I just wasn't sure because I know Canada has them listed differently, but I just wasn't sure why they'd give him second. But I get that they're just trying to make something stick. So it's probably like we have enough to prove second, so we're going to go after him for second, even though likely all of these were first degree murder. Let's
And
face
these are
it.
not even the first charges he gets.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
So it was for Megan, Melissa, and Amber. He was held without bail, thank God. He is also named a suspect in the murder of Maureen because, again, Gilgo 4, they're all side by side. So on January 16th, he was indicted for the murder of Maureen. So it's kind of like they're just doing things whenever they have enough evidence that they can actually bring forth a charge. So continuing with that same ABC article, less than a year later, on June 6th of this year, 2024, Heuermann is charged with 2 more murders. This is like a few months ago, you guys. A few months ago. This is last month.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Forgot it was still July. So this was after investigators spent months combing through evidence taken from his family home and following searches in a wooded area in Manorville. Manorville, if you remember, remains were found there. So things were all kind of circling back. He is charged with the 2003 murder of Jessica Taylor, whose remains were found on Long Island, in Gilgo Beach, March 2011, and in Manorville, July 2003. Because again, she was found in 2 places. So DNA, including the hair found on a drape under Taylor's body. Do I mean drape?
Well, yeah. It's
figured
like
that out.
you can put something on the ground. You can like a drape on the ground, right?
That's what I'm assuming because, again, he used burlap sacks to transport these people. But there was hair found, I guess, in the material used to move Jessica. So DNA, again, connected Heuermann to that murder and then also to the 1993 murder of Sandra. And she was found in North Sea, Long Island in 1993. So, again, all these things are kind of coming together now. God, DNA is just like, kudos to DNA. DNA is amazing. Except if you're in Gattaca, then it really narrows down your work options. Anyway, it's a little Gattaca. No one likes Gattaca? No?
I don't know what you're talking
Oh my
about.
God. Okay.
There's someone out there that does.
Are you questioning our friendship right now?
Someone's like, oh, Gattaca. Well, listen, DNA and like Jude Law is in it.
Yes.
Ethan Hawke is in it. And Uma. Like, his wife.
I know what you're talking about, but I have not seen.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a slow burn, but it's ahead of its time, I think. Sandra's murder was initially, and also Annihilation. Watch Annihilation.
Well, I did finally.
Oh, that's right. It's good.
It's like at least 50. Like, is it over? It's over 10 years old, right? It's like a movie.
Annihilation?
No, Gattaca.
Oh God.
Gattaca is 1997.
Yeah.
Wow, that's yeah.
We were little babies when that came out.
Which makes sense why I didn't see it because I was 9.
Definitely. I don't know why I saw it.
But you were watching Titanic.
Well,
Not
yeah,
crying.
you know.
Stone face.
No, actually, I probably wasn't crying either.
We know Megan
Dad.
wasn't.
No,
I
It's
wasn't.
before the crying days.
Yeah. And now I haven't stopped. So Sandra's murder was initially suspected to have been the work of a different killer, but advanced DNA now points to Heuermann. So Sandra is the earliest known victim in the set of murder charges, indicating he may have begun killing in the 1990s or earlier. And there may be other locations of his victims aside from the Gilgo Beach area, which is like a horrifying thought.
It's crazy how long he was active. And it wasn't until
Yeah.
recently that he was caught.
Incredibly recently.
He probably thought at this
2
point, like,
years.
he's like, I'm good. Like, never
Yeah,
had
I mean,
to worry.
He's
like,
in his early 60s. No one's even like sniffed at his front door. Now he didn't know that since early 2022 they were looking into him. He didn't know that, but then still, that's most of his disgusting criminal career. Just no one even looked his way.
right.
I'm gonna butcher this name. No, I'm not. Joseph Giacolone is an expert criminologist and adjunct professor at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice and a retired NYPD sergeant. So, like, I want to meet you. You sound
Impressive
super cool.
resume. Yeah.
Very impressive. He once ran the cold case squad in the Bronx. So like, I'm all about this guy. So he had this to say about Huerman. Before all this is over, he could become one of the most prolific serial killers ever on Long Island. There may be as many as 50 more unsolved murder cases that could be linked to him based on this time frame and his MO. That gave me chills again.
50?
50. Could be.
Oh my
They're
God.
still investigating.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So like we're truly just getting started on kind of uncovering all of the crap that he would have done.
Mm-hmm.
So after thoroughly investigating his home, it gets even better. Investigators learned about more of Huerman's interests, a fascination with unsolved murder cases. So like, don't self-diagnose yourself, okay? Just because you're into true crime does not mean that maybe you are a violent person.
True crime.
Ocean
Just
mystery.
take a sip.
We love to shit on each other for making speaking mistakes. If you haven't,
Even if I'm not
realized that
being
yet.
recorded, I can hardly speak
Yeah.
English, even on a good day.
Now, as the audio editor, I'm happy to provide more examples of what we all mess up.
You should just
Little collage of us
Yeah,
all
you should
saying
just do
words.
a super cut of all the words that are not words.
And then what Descript thinks we say for the transcription.
You send me those sometimes. I'm like, what was I even saying?
Yeah, it's
that's
almost
why I
like
keep track of
when you
those.
take handwritten notes and you're like, I don't know what I was trying to say here. It looks like a
Yeah,
chicken.
they just haven't mastered the Nova Scotia accent yet. That's not
I
our fault.
haven't
That's
either.
So,
I haven't mastered speaking yet, so
So we had mentioned
only
books.
36.
We had mentioned books that we have that maybe I guess to those that have ill intent, it could be a how-to, but for us, it's more of an understanding the scariest thing you'd ever find, which would be a murderer. So according to the indictment, police found a copy of a book by John Douglas and Mark Olisker, I don't know how to say his last name, titled The Cases That Haunt Us. And I literally have that book.
I want to read this.
It's
is this that
really
one?
good.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's pitch number 19. So I just say I also have that book. So it's a really good book. I recommend you read it. It's
So how
great
many
for
people have
the-
you killed, Megan?
today? If you are an average true crime reader, not a murderer, get the book. It's really good.
Or if
but-
you want to give yourself away and you're a murderer, get the book.
We're not
We-
promoting murderers here, so don't get
No,
the book.
We're not.
But I'm of the belief, like, I want to understand my
Right.
biggest threat, and that is, I guess, white men in general. But there's even more, and this is actually even creepier than this freaking book. So during the proceedings, prosecutors unveiled what they called Huerman's blueprint for his alleged crimes, including lists on possible dumping grounds, strategies for avoiding detection while he preyed on young women, and investigators discovered this on a Microsoft Word document created in 2000 on his laptop.
God.
So that is
way to leave a
pictures.
trail.
It's on pictures 20 and 21.
Yeah.
I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm
Oh
just gonna
my
read.
God.
It's disgusting. So I'm just going to
Wow.
read a little bit. So the first one is, oh God, body prep. These are all in bullet form, and they will flash up on the screen.
All
or
in
you can look
caps
at
too.
these. Yeah, well, that's number one. Chantel knows.
We
that's
know if
the
anyone writes all in caps, that's
bad news.
a warning.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll read a little bit. So body prep. Wash body inside and all cavities. Remove trace evidence. Fingerprints, hair. Remove trace DNA. Remove ID marks, tattoos, marks, etc. Remove marks from torture. Remove head and hands. Package for transport.
Marks from torture, because you're not going to know that the body was murdered,
That's
or
gonna
it's
give
just
you
because your
more-
hands are on. I don't
That's going to give you more information. So clearly he is torturing these people while they're alive. What tools he uses, what he's doing exactly, that's just going to better connect him
It's
to
very
every other victim.
creepy and
It's so methodical.
like
it's
so
incredibly
sadistic.
upsetting.
How
There's another one called Things to Remember. Get sleep before hunt. Too tired creates problems, but he misspells the word
Creates, yeah. I noticed that. Creates.
More sleep and noise control equals more playtime.
Oh.
Hunt too long. See in an area too long. Remember, don't charge gas, as in don't use a credit card for gas. Recon for video cameras in pickup area next time.
Next time. So he did it one time.
So he noticed. Oh, I actually feel a little tiny bit nauseous.
Yeah, this is so disturbing.
Dispose of box of plastic bass, first of all, to avoid trace.
Plastic bags.
Yeah, I know he meant bags, but dispose of box of plastic bags? What the fuck?
So if you're caught with a box of garbage bags or blue gloves, you shouldn't. That looks suspicious. So
I
get rid of
know.
them.
It's just like,
Oh, this is
really
really
like thinking about everything.
He says hit harder, too many hit to take down. Consider a hit to the face or neck next time for takedown.
Jesus.
So it's like, you know, talking about obviously a previous time where he's like, this wasn't the best hit.
My God.
It's just fucked.
Okay, I'm going to get off this page because this is making me feel sick.
Can't
Oh,
spell.
there's more.
Heavy.
Never mind.
Yeah, there's page 2. Also, he does mention Megan's name on this list under TRG, which stands for target.
Which one? On the second?
On the,
page?
on the
yes.
top, right?
Yeah. Small is good.
Oh my God, this is so disgusting.
That is
Notes. The more you do, the more clues you give. That's correct. Organized versus disorganized. Like he's looking up like lingo.
Look at the painting. Why? What? Who?
By
Ugh.
painting, I think he means
He
the
means just
scene.
like the scene.
Yeah.
of
like
what's
look
going
at
on,
his tableau of what he's done.
Okay.
So let's move on. So we're gonna have this up if you want to read. It's literally the
Did you
most
guys see the way he
disgusting
spelled
thing.
destroy?
He
He
can't
spelled
spell
a lot
at
of
all.
words wrong.
Also, too, caps does not pick up misspelled words.
It does now.
Well, this is
It used to
2000.
not. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna puke later. An analysis of those devices found Mr. Hewerman had a large collection of violent bondage and torture pornography, and that the material was very similar to the condition that the last 2 victims were left in. No one surprised here. Just to top it off, police would find nearly 300 guns in his home.
Jesus.
Do less.
You think
man.
like who would need that many guns? And I'm not
Probably
saying
because
like
his dick is so small. You know, he had to make up for it.
but yeah, like even like I know I don't think his wife knew any of this was going on, but I'm like,
No.
like, why do you need 300?
I have to assume that
guns?
he was hiding a lot of this stuff. Like, you know, I mean, in Canada it's not as common. Maybe if you're like up north. Or
I assume
whatever,
this computer was probably his own personal computer that they found this on. Okay.
but in terms of guns, like I think it's just more common for maybe Americans to have guns in the house. Like here, it's not common at all. So I'm
I'd
sure
say
there were
300 is
some.
common.
300 is a bit much. So I think he
Like
had
a
these hidden.
couple, but
I remember doing
We have
research
none.
and they did not find that on their first go through. Like the guns, it was like a process. So when it
he
comes
must have had them
to-
hidden very well.
I would say when it comes to DNA, tests done on male hairs found under the body of Mrs. Taylor and on Miss Castilla on her shirt indicate they came from Mr. Hewerman. So
Okay.
that's like open shut case for me. When going over the timeline for the victims, their last known sightings and murders, it corresponds to dates when Hewerman's wife and children were out of the state. This lines up for at least 5 of the murders. Additionally, hair believed to be from Hewerman's wife was found on or near 3 of the murder victims.
Oh my God.
So if you were in a relationship with a man or a woman, but one of you has long hair, that hair will end up everywhere.
Everywhere.
My hair ends up in Damien's clothes. I don't even know how that happens.
Oh yeah, my hair's probably all over Eric's clothes, and
It's like embedded in clothes.
So think about that next time you want to get into this kind of lifestyle. Like
I was in your house 2 weeks ago. My hair is all over your apartment.
That's
Yeah.
how I want it. Personally, that's how I like it.
Because she's going to plant our hair on the bodies. That was her plan all along.
Well, you've kind of ruined it now. So, There was also DNA collected from bottles inside a garbage can outside the Huerman home, which also matched DNA found on victims. So I have in picture 22, which is pizza crust. And I'll say again that a crucial break in the case came in January 2023 when investigators took a swab from leftover pizza crust Huerman discarded in the trash outside his Manhattan office. So pizza crust really just brought the whole thing together.
Just save the
day.
day.
It's respect.
Yeah.
Now
We should have had pizza right now. What were we thinking?
Here's how you know that he actually is a psychopath. Number one, you're going to throw out the crust. That's why. Why would you do that? That's
dipping
why
sauce specifically for that.
Exactly. That's why sauce is created.
Also,
You hold pizza to dip. There's too much going on. The pizza could be floppy. What if the toppings fly off? That's too much.
that's the one thing I don't like about Chicago pizzas. They cut it in squares. A lot of people in Chicago like it. So
How do you
sorry.
dip? Now you have to bite it in
there's
a way that
there's
it fits in
pieces
the
that
dip.
don't have the crust. I like the crust. I like holding onto the crust. I like
So
eating it.
you would get away with murder.
carbs. Yeah, I
Carbs.
Grayson sometimes doesn't eat his crust. Like my son does not eat his crust, and I gladly eat it for him. So
You're like, I am all over that.
yeah, don't
Such a good
get rid of. That's like the best part.
Okay, we're coming to the finale here. Huerman got away with multiple murders for over 15 years because police simply did not try hard enough to solve the cases of victims like Megan, Melissa, Maureen, and Amber. In 2022, a new police task force was formed between Suffolk County Police Department and the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office and the New York State Police and the FBI. So all the big guns. It was at this time when reviewing new evidence, they finally started to connect the Gilgo Beach 4 to the other bodies found on the same stretch of road. The first lead was the black Chevrolet Avalanche, the car that was seen by a witness believed to be that of Amber's killer. And at this point, that's when they did the search for registered trucks in the area, and boom, Rex Huerman pops up. So they had that information the entire time.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That's crazy.
And I did not mention like 2 agencies. I mentioned 4 agencies that got together, and their first tip, they get his name as a potential suspect. I'm not saying that I could do it better, but like I know that I could. And I know that there's so much that goes into it. It's money, it's time, people are changing jobs, and I know it's not as simple as what we're making it out to be.
No.
But 15 years of people that were sitting there not discovered with information that could have started this so much sooner. Maybe it wouldn't have saved anyone. I think at this point he had stopped killing that we know of.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to tell he wouldn't have picked up a gun.
Or just
maybe there are people that have not been this way. He started a new area. Who knows, right?
I just think that, they could have been following up on these leads way at the beginning. I don't know why it took them 15 years to start.
Yeah. I doubt he was able to clear it out of his system. Like, he has that drive, and he's clearly...
So yes and no, but your age really does impact. Like, I mean, we can look at the Golden State Killer, and it was the same thing. When he got older, it's the same. Yeah, it's just because, when you're in the quote-unquote prime of your life, that's when you have the energy and all of your desires, good or bad, are like at 100. And then you get kids, you get married, maybe you kind of slow down. Everything just kind of slows down, and those same desires just aren't as strong.
Do we know, did he sexually assault these women? 100%. So it was based around that. Okay.
100%. But again, sex was not the goal. The goal was
the
inflicting
murder.
pain.
The torture, more so.
Yeah, the murder wasn't even the goal. The murder is just because of everything else. You can't leave someone alive after you've done all that stuff to them.
And did he target sex workers just because it was an easier target, or did he have some hatred?
You can literally, I mean, there's more evidence that he was going online, like through a catalog, Craigslist, just searching. It was like looking through a magazine, ordering something. That's literally how he did it. It's deplorable. Investigators would end up with over 300 subpoenas to search warrants to begin investigating Huerman. My God, that sentence was rough.
Yeah, that was.
This is another long quote that comes from a CNN article, and it's just a very clear breakdown. So I'm just going to read it as is. So, quote, evidence revealed the killer had used burner phones to contact victims, Investigators found calls to the victims originating from locations connected to Huerman. Investigators said that they narrowed down cell tower records from thousands of possible individuals down to hundreds, then down to a handful of people. They focused on residents who matched a physical description provided by the witness who had seen the killer, or who had seen someone they assumed was the killer, obviously. Task force members who learned Huerman lived close to one Long Island cell site and worked in New York City. Sorry, I put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, you know? Task force members also learned Huerman lived close to one Long Island cell tower and worked near another one in New York City where these calls originated from. So again, he's just popping up in all of the hotspots. I mentioned the calls to Melissa's sister. So a series of taunting calls, which a male caller admitted killing and sexually assaulting Barthélemy, were made from her own cell phone to her family, was from the vicinity of Huerman's Midtown Manhattan office during the summer of 2019, according to the bail application. So he was at work calling, I think she was a teenager, saying, I killed your sister. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Huerman also used burner phones to contact sex workers or massage parlors. He created false names for an email account used to search for sex workers, sadistic, torture-related pornography, and child pornography.
Are they getting him on those counts then as well?
I feel like searching for it when he's killed 10 people is like,
Doesn't matter.
Might.
Throw anything at him that you can.
I don't have any.
They probably maybe they save some things for just in case. For
not that I know of yet.
But also, you know, I mean, they might just start with, all right, we know we can get him on these things. He's not going to be charged for all the murders.
He's
right?
nowhere done with his charges though. But like there's some that they can confirm with DNA, and others it's just like suspected. So, but they're not done with charges, I don't think. One fictitious email account was used to send selfies to solicit and arrange for sexual activity. Another was used to search for podcasts and documentaries about the investigation. Never Google yourself. My God.
Yourself.
Don't Google yourself. He also searched for images depicting the murdered victims and members of their immediate family.
Jesus.
Before his public arrest,
he's probably
in
getting
July
off on that stuff
of 2023, he definitely is. So this is the month he got arrested. So this is last July. Huerman used his laptop and his specialized email account to conduct over 200 searches between March 2023 and June 2023 about serial killers and articles about the task force investigating the Gilgo Beach killings. Wow. It's giving, what's that dude? Rocco. Remember the Canadian serial killer that killed Jin Lee? Luca Magnotta.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He was caught in Germany, I think, Googling himself.
Right.
Just don't. Idiot. Yeah. So as we film right now, we are mid-July 2024. So I just wanted to give you a little update that's happening right now. When this comes out in September, there might be some more updates, but it's just good to have a time frame because someone may listen to this, you know, a year later or what have you. So currently, while I provide the current information on the story, please enjoy another photo of Huerman getting arrested. That's picture number 23. He's scary. He looks like a freaking ogre. He's huge. Very, very tall.
He is.
Scares
you can imagine some of these victims were what, like 5 feet tall?
And it said to go after small people.
Well, that one guy, Gus, who was trying to help Shannon, thought Shannon was a teenager. That's how small she was. No, again, not that we know for sure that she is connected, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So this was from July 3rd, 2024. Suffolk County investigators confirmed that 15 sex workers have provided credible evidence of encounters with suspected killer Rex Huerman in the Gilgo Beach murders. Suffolk County Sheriff Errol Toulon told 1010 WINS reporter Sophia Hall that his investigators interviewed 298 sex workers in Suffolk and Nassau correctional facilities since his arrest. So that's 300 I'm assuming probably predominantly women, but 300 people were interviewed to see if they had any known encounters with this man. So 2 female inmates have identified they have received phone calls from him, but never made physical contact.
Luckily.
But 15 have had enough encounters that they can give more evidence. Essentially just a testimony like, yes, he said this, did that. Maybe they got away. Maybe these 15 were almost other victims. At this point, Huerman is set to return to court the end of this month. And that is the current up-to-date story.
Okay, so we might have
Gilgo Beach murders.
some updates to share later on then.
We definitely will have updates. Like,
Progresses.
as we're recording this, he's still actively in court. Like, he hasn't been sentenced or anything.
Yeah. Well,
But
I mean, that
he's
could still
not
take
out.
so
like
long.
he's in jail, right?
Oh, he's
No,
not
he's
ever
allowed
let
out
out of
on
jail.
bail.
Right.
So that's a pretty crazy story.
Super happy, uplifting story.
Thanks,
Where I
Megan.
butchered the English language. You're welcome. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
Wow. Oh, I mean,
I
this
got
was an
nothing to
important
say.
case to share, though. So, thank you for covering it and going into all this research. I know it's not easy to.
And
Yeah.
again, there's so much information. Some of the dates I found multiple sources that gave like off by a day or something.
Yeah.
So there could be some little things that I got wrong, especially when it comes to what Peach's original Jane Doe name was.
and where where the second part of her torso
Yeah,
was
so
found.
I know that her remains were found in 2 different places, and I don't think her daughter was ever found with her. So if I misspoke, I mean, honestly,
We'll find it out when we go to edit.
Yeah,
You might
and,
not have.
And it's overwhelming, like, to go through all of this stuff. And so I just needed some breaks, and I could have.
Oh, I
got
mean,
some
how
stuff
many
wrong.
times have I also been like, well, I read it this way at this place and this way at this place. So like it's hard when you're getting it from different.
Yeah.
Anyways.
We're new. We're getting, sources that are available to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't, don't have all the
Definitely
case
have to-
files directly in
We'll
front
definitely
of
have to
us.
put a tracker on this guy. a
Even
Google
I bet
tracker.
sometimes even like official reports probably vary in exact dates and things like that because
Yeah.
Oh, I've definitely
Sometimes-
found things like that. So
yeah.
And sometimes the information is coming from family. You would consider a direct source, but maybe they're not getting the full info from police and just who
Right.
knows.
I'm
But
definitely gonna have to look more into this because I
yeah.
don't really know a lot about it. And as morbid as it is, I kind of am interested in what exactly happened because I read a little part when I was looking at Peaches, and that is disturbing.
Yeah, and I think you're in a safe space for that. I think if you're listening to this, you are morbidly curious, and that's kind of the whole. But it always comes down to, like, not that I want to. It's not like I'm curious, like, oh, I want to do that stuff. It truly is. I am so afraid of this happening to me or someone that I know. I want to understand why their brains act that way, so I know what to look for. It really is like knowing your enemy. That's really
like
why I think I'm interested.
I recently got that book that they always talk about on, and that's why we drink the
Yes,
fear.
I want to read that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll let you guys know how it goes.
And also, I hope we can kind of cut this down, but this is going to be a long episode, so we're going to stop it right here. If this was a heavy case, it's real life, man. It freaking sucks, and I'm so sorry if this bummed you out. So do something that makes you feel a little lighter, makes you feel a little bit happier. Listen to one of our shark
We have
episodes.
some
This is a pretty
lighter.
Yeah.
Well, we have some lighter topics coming up, I think. So
nice. Stick to some of like the science ones.
And the episode next week that's coming out is going to be a little bit lighter too. So we'll bring you back up next week.
Yeah. So we're gonna tear you down just to build you back up again.
Exactly.
It's a roller coaster over
Bye. Everyone listening or watching, have a great day. Beaches are still safe. Sex work should be legal. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks again, Megan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening today. We loved having you. If you liked the episode, share with your friends, family, or anyone who would enjoy it. Also, take a minute to review the Coast Files podcast on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Leaving us a comment or like really helps. You can email us at coastfilespod@gmail.com, follow us on Instagram at coastfilespod, or visit our website at www.coastfiles.com. You can find the sources for today's episode on our website. See you next week with a new episode.